Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CBSN Minnesota Morning Update. I'm Jason DeRusha. It is Tuesday. Maybe you woke up a little early. You were waiting for the CBSN Morning Update to come your way at 3 in the morning. There were some thunderstorms coming through down yonder. It's a little noisy, a little thunder, a little lightning. I thought somebody was knocking at my bedroom door at 2:15. It was just rain. Yeah, nobody, thank goodness. Boy, that'd be horrifying, right? Hot again today. Kind of in this summery pattern, right? Yesterday was hot, but I thought it felt pretty good. We had dinner on the patio, or on the deck, I guess. Similar deal today, less humid than yesterday. 85 for the high, cooler night ahead, and then a change. Some rain comes back into the picture in a couple of days in the 50s. So, you know, typical May around here. Let's talk about this. It is a day that Minnesotans and people around the world will remember George Floyd. 1 year after his death, the jury ruled it a murder. From Dallas to Washington, D.C. to Minneapolis. Events all over the country. Activists, supporters, just regular people honoring Floyd with a series of celebrations of his life and really reflections on where we've come and how far we've come, and have we come far at all. A conversation about reform, changing policing, a new focus on race, and whether we really have reckoned with and acknowledged the impact that race and racism has on our friends and neighbors in our state. Many wondering what has changed, how have I changed? And so we ask you this today, as you reflect on this last year. How have you changed? Is there something you've considered that you didn't think about before? Is there a book you've read or someone you've spoken to, or just reality that you've considered about life? Maybe it's made you reconsider policing. Doesn't mean that we don't still love the police officers who go out there and do the tough work, but is there a better way to do it or a different way to do it? All of these things may be conversations that we never had before. So we ask you to reflect, share your thoughts 1 year later, and we will share through some of your wisdom. A lot of times the best wisdom comes from you, and certainly not from us. So we appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing a little with us this morning. Leave those comments on Facebook. We'll talk about them in just a couple of minutes. At the state capitol yesterday, we did hear from Floyd's girlfriend, Courtney Ross, and others who have lost loved ones to police.
Floyd was my man. He was but one man. And there are so many cases that we need to reopen, not only in this state, in this country, across the world.
People all over the country marched and protested in demand for justice. And I believe that the guilty verdict that we got inside that courthouse was because of the mass movement that have happened across this country, that have finally waken up to the injustice that has been happening in this country for far too long.
That awakening, that group gathered, was demanding changes to policing in Minnesota, and lawmakers here are going to talk about that when they meet next month. In Washington, Congress will not meet the president's call to reach a deal by today for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. We just heard from Senator Cory Booker on CBS this morning saying, you know, they don't want to have kind of a bad deal done quickly. And discussions are ongoing, so they'd rather spend the time, get it right, and get a deal that makes a difference. As many are remembering Floyd's life, there are those still fighting to recover from some of the outrage and the chaos that we saw in the days after his death. You know, there were so many terrific protests, but, you know, you can't forget about this. Also, looting, destruction, so many families, life work, their businesses destroyed. And some business owners say a year later, things are still not back to normal.
Because everything is still going on, all the shooting, still prostitution out there, drug dealing, especially shooting. Customers are afraid to come by.
Yeah, the growth in crime certainly has obscured some of the conversation about changing policing, right? To support each other and press for change, about 150 businesses have come together and formed the Lake Street Latino Business Association. Cities partnering with grassroots groups and corporations on revitalization. A lot of this conversation going on around racial equity, right? As you see a stretch of the city with damage and rebuilding going on, you know, you don't want to lose sight of the people who really have made this home for 30 years or so. There's a group called the Latino Economic Development Center, which helps navigate government resources at no charge. Business advocates say, you know, the best thing you can do is go there. Go to Lake Street, go to the Midtown Global Market, go to some of the great shops and restaurants and little kind of shopping little malls or like little, just terrific food up and down Lake Street, great shops. So go and patronize them. Remember that energy that we had a year ago and continue to channel that forward to help those folks out. Minnesota Wild are still alive in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah, I know some of you didn't believe, but you can ask the butcher at my local grocery store. What did I say yesterday at 5 p.m.? I said they were going to win, and I said that Zach Parise was going to score a revenge goal to show the coach that he should have been in the game all along. And indeed, Parise scored. The Wild were just a terrible second period by the Wild. Incredible goaltending, though. They were outshot 40-14. Still get the win, 4-2. Wild have to win every remaining game. They're down 3-2. So if they can win tomorrow night at the X, Game 6, hey, Game 7 happens. Did COVID-19 originate inside a lab in Wuhan, China, after all? White House wants an international investigation. This was dismissed early on as sort of a conspiracy theory, right? Well, now the administration is urging China to release more information. Trust and China are two words that do not typically go together when you're talking about international relations. But a U.S. intelligence report indicates that 3 researchers at a Wuhan lab sought hospital treatment, all of them, in November 2019. The original explanation from China was that COVID started with animal to human transmission. But so how do you explain this medical treatment that the researchers got? China denies the report, accusing the U.S. of trying to hype up this theory. But knowing the truth is important. Will you ever get it? Who knows? But those questions are being asked. With more people getting vaccinated against COVID, MSP International Airport is getting ready for big crowds this summer. Airlines are significantly expanding their schedules in the lead up to Memorial Day. 176 routes. That will be a pandemic-era high. By the 3rd week of June, there will be 185 different destinations, different routes from MSP. Big cats removed from an Oklahoma animal park seen on the popular Netflix show Tiger King are now in Minnesota. The Wildcat Sanctuary in Sandstone says it has accepted several tigers, lions, and hybrid cats. Federal agents seized nearly 70 animals last week from Tiger King Park, citing ongoing violations of the Endangered Species Act. The park's owners, Jeff and Lauren Lowe, bought the zoo from Joe Exotic, who's featured in that Netflix documentary. Tiger King, Lowe's told a local news station they've done nothing wrong. But some of those cats in Minnesota. Crews are busy trying to make sure that mosquitoes don't get a seat at your Memorial Day barbecue. Last week's rain does mean more opportunities for those mosquito larvae to hatch. Metropolitan Mosquito Control, maybe you've seen their helicopters up. You know, they drop those pellets or they spray. They say a dry spring gave them time to prepare, and all signs point to fewer skeeters over the holiday weekend.
If you happen to live by a pond or something like that that breeds a lot of mosquitoes, you might have a lot in your particular neighborhood, but overall, district-wide, it shouldn't be that significant.
More good news. Mosquito Control seeing fewer deer ticks and wood ticks than they normally do this time of year, so that's good news. I am old enough to remember that moment when David Letterman went back on the air after the September 11th terror attacks, and we looked to the late night host. We looked to Letterman as sort of the soul of New York City in a way, and what he would say when he came back live after that attack. I think some people are looking to Stephen Colbert as he gets ready to welcome back a full studio audience for the first time since the pandemic started. June 14th is the date. The Ed Sullivan Theater will open its doors to 400 fully vaccinated people. Late Show's been doing, remember they changed the name, called it A Late Show? Since March of last year, you saw Colbert in his bathtub there. He's done 205 shows without an audience. So the audience is back. You need to be vaccinated. Will there be dance moves? I hope so. Tickets are available now if you want to be part of the audience. It's a good sign of things coming back, right? Let's get back to what we're talking about today, which is reflecting on a year after George Floyd's death. Kimberly, this year has taught me a lot of different things, the main one being I cannot control every aspect of my life, and that's okay. Yeah. Thanks, Kimberly. Here's Bradley. Taught me, above all, we cannot do any of this alone. Isolation, never the answer. We truly need each other now more than ever. Revealed a lot about how choices have consequences. We should take those choices more seriously than ever before. Thank you, Bradley. Here's Becca. Been much more aware of systemic racism. Yeah, I think we had a guest on WCCO this morning today, a reporter for the Washington Post, who said that before this, a lot of people just really thought of racism as a one-on-one sort of attack, right? Somebody says something offensive, or somebody doesn't get a job, or whatever the case may be. But we're looking deeper now, right? We see that in the Twin Cities and Interstate 94 and how it destroyed the Rondo neighborhood. We see it in kind of different health outcomes. And you say, why is that? Well, maybe there's something wrong with the system. Same with the criminal justice system, too. Tamara definitely recommends everybody read White Fragility. Learn to speak less and listen more. Yeah. It's hard for some of us to do, right? But I think about this a lot, right? Like the last thing people need is another white guy telling them what to think about all of this. And so I don't, but listening is always a good option. Yeah. Thanks for sharing with us. Thanks for being here for the morning update from CBSN Minnesota. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll do this all again. Have a great day.